I have been in ministry leadership for a long time, and it has looked different in different places that I've served. But since coming to LifePoint and being under some great leaders and some great teaching, I have grown so much in the last 2 years. I think before, in places that I've served, even as a leader, I was given a task, I was expected to complete the task, and then you move on to the next task. But the way we do leadership here is so different. There is an expectation as a leader that everyone under you is being taught, that they are being ministered to, they're being cared for, they are being communicated with, which is one thing we're going to talk about today, is communication. But it was revolutionary to me to understand that the leaders above me were supposed to be teaching me what they knew and guiding me through the process of whatever task I was doing. And it wasn't just about a task. It was about learning something along the way. You should never send someone off to go do something just to complete that task. There should always be an expectation that they are learning something, whether it's to be more independent, whether it's to lead someone else, whether it's to learn to delegate, or just being bold. Whatever it is, there should be something that your team is learning through what they're doing, and your conversations with them should be about growth and wanting them to be better, not just to make you look good as a leader, though that feels pretty good when your team is excelling. And right now the guest services team is excelling, which makes me feel fantastic. But more than that, I want you guys to be fulfilled in what you are doing and how you are serving. I want you to be growing. Ben Klock shared with the staff, which then it was shared with us as leaders, and there's an expectation that we're going to pass this down, that we need to be better funnels. So depending on where you're at, you get lots and lots and lots of information, but where does that information go? Is it stopping with you, or are you sharing what you're learning in community night? Are you sharing what you're learning through the devotions that I send, or that Billy sends, or that Joe sends? The information that you have, hopefully you are processing, and that you are sharing that with your teams. If we can get better at being funnels, we can develop stronger and stronger teams below us. There's this idea that at the top, we have our community, our people that come, that are outside of our house, they're in the community. And then we have folks that come to church kind of inconsistently, but they would probably call LifePoint home. We have our regulars. We have a huge group of those. They come consistently, and they maybe even serve regularly. And then we have our core group of leaders. But when we are intentionally helping people to grow, we are helping them to level up, to go from being in the community to maybe coming and participating in service, or from being inconsistent when you are reaching out to those you know and helping them to grow, they might become regulars, and so on and so forth. We want people to grow. We need to focus on personal development. And one way we do that is by having one-on-ones. So throughout this last month, I have had one-on-ones with each of you. And now it is time to do that again. But our focus this time will be just a little bit different. We will talk about 3 and 6 and 12-month goals. And I found out during this process that I struggle with having vision for the future. I'm very practical. I think about what is kind of right in front of me or the next week ahead. But to become a better leader, I need to open up my vision to what is ahead beyond the next week, beyond the next month. And this process will help us do that. But it should not stop with you. What you are learning and what you are practicing, needs to be turned around, and that needs to happen with your leaders. Hopefully you have leaders under you that oversee your teams as well. That is not just you as the coordinator, but that you are developing team leaders for each of your teams. And I know some of the teams are struggling with that right now. Maybe that's going to be one of your goals, that you have a team leader over each of your teams so that you don't have to focus on your entire team, because that's not possible. So in setting goals, we need to think about having realistic goals. We don't want to shoot for the moon, and then when we try and it doesn't happen, we just give up. No, we want to set things that we can judge the results. If I say I want to have, say one of my goals is to have closer family relationships. Well, my goal might be, or how am I going to accomplish that so that I can measure it? I would say, well, first of all, I'm going to have a weekly date night with my husband, and there's going to be at least one day of the week or evening, sometime during the week, that we do family time together. We do an activity, and we're not on our phones, we're not on devices. So I can measure that. I can look back in a month and say, okay, Chris and I had 4 date nights. We went hiking, bowling, and these various things we did together as a family. And I can start to gauge that and see that through that time our family has drawn closer together. We also develop goals that help us get to the bigger goals. So those smaller ones of having a weekly date night lead to the bigger goal of having an awesome relationship with my husband. Okay? So the other thing we need to think about when we're making these goals is to share these conversations with our spouse. It's going to be really hard for you to accomplish these things if your significant other has no idea or isn't in agreement. You need to be in alignment. Families will go in a much smoother direction if they're aligned. And us as a guest services team, we are a family, and we need to be aligned in the direction that we're going. And the direction we're going is developing other leaders. So you're back to your one-on-ones. So when we have these together, some of us are friends, we've known each other for a long time or a little while, and so it's easy, or it's tempting to just sit down and chit chat, or to not really be focused during that time. But it is very important during your one-on-one time. It's not about you, so you gotta get over yourself. It is not about you. You need to focus on the person on your team to help them grow. It's not really time for you to share your goals or what's going on with you. You need to work through, how's their devotional time going? What is something they're praying for? What are they believing God for in this season? What have they heard from God? Talk about those kinds of things. You can also just let them kind of lead the conversation. If you're a new leader, this is going to take time. For someone to share these things with you, you're going to need to build equity. I'm still working on doing that too with several of you. And it's important that you build that equity and that trust so that you can get to the point where you're sharing goals. You're sharing things that are going on in your life. And you can be a person they'd be willing to come to if they were having a struggle. Until you build that equity, it might be hard for that to happen. But if you do all the talking, it's going to be hard for them to build that. And I know I have some on our team that you're twos on the Enneagram, you're helpers, and it is hard for you to talk about yourself. Peacemakers, 9s have trouble with this too. You're more focused on other people. So that might be something you have to practice, is being willing to share about yourself, to dig a little deeper. And this will help you grow as well, because if you don't take time to investigate how you think, how you operate, what motivates you, it's going to be really hard to make any changes. So it's really important, even if you struggle with either self-awareness or being able to think about yourself a little bit or talk about yourself, you need to in order to grow. So, let's see. So let's talk about what are some things, some questions you're going to answer. So I'll type these out in an email, but these are the things we're going to talk through. You need to spend some time on your own doing some homework. First of all, what areas do I need help in? It can be a long list or just a couple of things. Can either be professional or personal. What do I need help with? And then what area do you want to work on first? You might have 10 things that you think need help. Let's focus on one or two and make a plan to helping make those better, and then work through the list. The third thing is, what do you feel like you are doing well personally and professionally? Sometimes it's hard after we've just answered, what do I need help with? Or for me, I'm a perfectionist, and so I might have a really, really long list of things that I need help with, but what am I doing well? I might struggle to answer that. But this helps me see, okay, I am doing all right in this area. This area is not so bad either. Okay. And it helps build your confidence so that you can tackle those areas where you need help. And then the last thing is to write out your 3 and 6 and 12-month goals. And not just to focus on what you want those goals to be, but how you're going to accomplish them.